Number 3 of 2025, right? Yeah, episode number 3 of 2025. I was gonna say 2025. How you been, man?
Man, been good. How you been?
I've been good, bro. I had a little sprain at the gym. That thing kind of took me out for a couple of days. I thought it was a torn ligament, but then after talking to you, you told me if you tear a ligament, it's all bad. So I was like, no, it's probably just a sprain then. And yeah, I feel a lot better, man. So I haven't been able to go to the gym for like 3 or 4 days, something like that. But I just been doing home workouts and, still waking up early. When I go to the gym, I wake up like at 4:45. That way I'm reading by like 5 to 5:10. And then, I'm done with all my reading and stuff by like 5:35. Meet you at the gym by like 6. And then we work out for about an hour. And then the rest of my day just is scheduled out from there. But I've been waking up like probably like 5:25, 5:30. I've been sleeping in a little. And it's been cool, man. It's been cool. What's new with you?
Nothing really new, but what I noticed about my reading is I used to be on the schedule where I wake up super early,
Right.
and I read first.
Right.
But ever since I started waking up early, going to the gym, and then reading after that,
Right.
my energy and focus is just so much more better after I go to the gym rather than before.
Yeah, I think that different things work for different people, absolutely. Like I always tell people, you got to find your rhythm and what works for you. And I know a lot of people that feel the same way. For me, it feels better to knock out the reading first because I know myself and I know that if I don't get the reading done first thing in the morning, the likelihood of me doing it is pretty low. So I just like to be honest with myself, and it's nothing crazy. I'm reading like 10 minutes. But it's crazy when you actually start to see the accumulation of 10 minutes over, 2 weeks. It's like, damn, I'm done with half a book.
Yeah.
So I think people really underestimate the fact that you don't need to sit there and read for an hour. You can read for 10 minutes, save your page, come back to it tomorrow, rinse and repeat. And, the accumulation of that is just major, man.
And depending on the book, sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
It's almost as if the more you read, the more you overlook what you're reading. My mentor said something to me yesterday. He said, the wisdom in scripture is like gold in a mountain full of dirt.
The wisdom in scripture is gold in a mountain full of dirt.
So he's like, when you read the scripture, read it like you're looking for gold. Read it as if you're looking for wisdom, like you're digging for gold.
I saw you post a picture of the scripture you were reading last time where it was talking about eliminating any, you described it as half steppers and half haters. And I really like that,
Yeah, because it said somewhere in Proverbs, it said a true friend loves you all the time.
Right, yeah, that's exactly what I remember.
And it sounds so simple, like, duh, a true friend shows love all the time. That's how it's supposed to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not how it is.
No, a lot of the time, like you described it perfectly, half steppers and half haters, because it's almost like they're hating, but they want to disguise it as like their opinion almost, like, oh no, this is just my opinion. But it's like, no, that's a hating ass opinion.
Yeah, that, and a lot of the time people don't want to admit that they're envious or any type of jealous or any type of ill will towards you, but you can feel it in the energy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, energy is big, man. And that's one of the things, I was reading this. I thank you for the book you gave me. You gave me the book, Blessed and Unstoppable, and that's what I've been reading, man.
Shout out Dr. Billy Osbrooks.
Yeah, seriously.
Check him out, YouTube, Instagram.
He put me on to Dr. Billy Osbrooks. I'd never heard of Dr. Billy Osbrooks until he started taking one of his courses. And, this man, there's things like I already knew, but like to have somebody at that degree kind of affirm it, it's like, man, it feels good, But all the stuff that I read in the morning, it just gets my day going. Like this morning, I was reading something about keeping your circle right. I forget what he named the chapter, but in that chapter, it basically talks about the things that we talk about all the time. Where like you're the sum of the five people, but he broke it down basically saying, there's been studies that show that you will become the average of the income of the five people that you hang around. So there's studies that's been shown that, and it basically talks about, stay away from anybody whose character is questionable. And it almost, to me, it's just like, man, I already knew this, but thank you so much for affirming it, because I know I'm not tripping. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Dr. Billy Osbrook. Great guy, very more than just a motivational speaker. I feel like a lot of people can relate to his background just because he came from like the streets and not such a glorious when you hear doctor in the name, you almost think, oh, they had great parents, they went to college, they had the picket white fence, etc., etc. This guy was nothing like that. He actually had to work very hard to get to where he's at, and that's almost more respectable and more admirable. So thank you for that book, man. It's been great to read in the morning, and I'm almost sad that I'm almost done with it. But yeah, you've been reading the Bible, right? That's what you've been reading?
Yeah, I've been reading Proverbs and the book As a Man Thinketh.
That's right, As a Man Thinketh. What did you pick up? You sent me some stuff. I think you texted it to me, or I don't remember if you called me about it.
I forget which book it's in, but there's a bonus book in there. It's called From Poverty to Power.
Okay.
And so I forget which book is which, but like which one starts where.
Yeah.
But they pretty much go over the same stuff, and a lot of this stuff talks about how if you're dealing with like fear, anxiety, worry, guilt, jealousy, hatred,
right,
then you just haven't fully devoted yourself to the goodness of life, or to the God of life, or to the God within you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it says anytime you're too worried about external things like people, places, and things, or somebody's messing with you emotionally, externally, then now you're a slave to your emotions.
Right.
And it says when you're in fear, you're a slave. It puts you in shackles. It immobilizes you. And I really like the way it described that, because, they say to have faith is not to fear, right?
Yes.
And they say that the enemy uses fear and doubt and worry and anxiety to paralyze you or to pull you down, you know what I mean? To slow you down, basically. And that just struck a chord for me, how it said that if you're dealing with any of those emotions or letting those emotions run you, now you're a slave. And it also talks about people almost deem themselves too important. Like, it's bigger than you.
Yeah.
It's bigger than what you're going through in that 5-minute span of life, that you're taking out on everybody, or that event that happened last week that you're still holding that grudge for, or you know what I mean, or what your emotions say about event is bigger than you.
Yeah.
Kind of like get out of your own way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's powerful, man.
It says a lot of stuff though.
Yeah, yeah. There was one thing you said there where you talked about how it's bigger than you. And I speak to us about what that means to you. It's bigger than you.
So I'm gonna kind of go about it in a roundabout way.
Okay.
In my life, when I was little, my mom used to tell me to do music.
Okay.
I was like, nah, that's not me.
Right.
That's not me, getting on stage and, having all them eyes on me, being like the center of attention. Nah, I'd rather just be like tucked off in the back. You feel me? Observing, I'll watch.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So she always told me since I was young, oh, you have a voice, you should do it. You have a different voice. And then once I finally started doing it, and 4 or 5 years later, you come to realization that you're right. You can't do that, and that's not you without God.
Right. But when you put God in the picture.
But when you put God in the picture and you start walking out that word, you realize you can do anything you want. You feel me?
I don't know if you guys realize how powerful it is what he just said.
And on top of that, it's like Dang, what was the question? My fault.
You're good. I was just asking you. You said it's bigger than you.
Oh,
What does that
yeah.
mean to you? And you said you'd go on a roundabout to explain what that means to you.
Yeah, so Billy asked a question. He said, who are you hurting by not being the best you can be? Who is hurting because you haven't put your message out there? Who is hurting because you're not the best version of yourself?
Right.
You know, and when you think about all those questions, it removes you from the equation, because our emotions get in the way, our fear, our anxieties, our stress, our ourselves get in our own way. And sometimes we got to realize that it's not about you. Put yourself to the side, and the reason for the gift was to use it.
Right.
You know, the reason for the gift was to share it, was to spread it, was to use it, was to help people, was to serve people. You know, so sometimes we get so caught up in ourselves that we forget it's not all about us. And that's what it's bigger than me means, you know. I feel like it can mean a lot of things, though. Kind of like you're doing it for the people who aren't here no more, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if they were here, if they had another chance, they would do anything they could. You feel me?
I think it's so beautiful how you carry on the legacy of your best friend, Chris. You know,
yeah.
I think that what you just said now really speaks to that. You know, he passed away at a young age, and yet you feel that he's going to live through you. And a lot of people, you know, when certain events like that happen, they talk like that, but then their life goes on, and it's like, you know, people get forgotten about.
Apart.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But for you, it's never been like that, man. Your whole brand was branded after your friend, and so it's like your friend will actually live forever through you because he had such a beautiful impact on your life.
Yeah.
And you know, that's admirable, man. That's really admirable that you choose to have him live through you regardless.
Man, you know, I just had a friend turn 24 yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, Chris only made it to 21.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, like, how wise he was and how many years ahead he was. I'm like, dang. You know, the potential of what he would have been today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was always wise beyond his years, ahead of everybody our age. Like, I was only a year younger than him, and he treated me like I was about 50 years younger than him. All the time, man. It was funny, man. It was fun.
Man, that's awesome.
But yeah, nah, it's such a blessing, you know? It's so fragile. It's as if in life we go from two mindsets. It's either we're floating through and just not realizing how precious this is, we're just on autopilot, or something happens and some type of glass breaks and we realize, like, oh, wow.
Yeah, that's usually what happens most of the time.
This stuff is so fragile, and we need to appreciate this. It's a blessing to be able to just wake up and do anything today. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know the fucked up part is most people actually, even when some tragedy happens and then they realize, like, man, this thing is precious, like, I'm gonna give it my fullest, and then slowly they just go back to their old cycle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's almost like they appreciate it during the moments of pain, but then once the pain starts to subside, they start to slowly creep back into their normal cycle of taking life as a given, taking life as just ordinary, taking life as just, this is what it is. We're supposed to wake up. We're supposed to, you know, and they don't understand how precious it is to just be able to wake up. That's the one thing that I give God thanks to every single day, primarily for myself, my family, my community, my loved ones, is health. If we don't have health, we don't have anything. I don't care about anything else. If we don't have health, we don't have anything. Everything else is just an additive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we have health, we got it all, man. Anything else can just be built on top of that. But I heard a quote the other day where they said, you know, you spend half your life accumulating money, trading money for trading your health for money, and then you spend the other half trading your money for health.
Yeah.
You know, and that's so true. I don't ever want to live like that. So I try my absolute best to balance both aspects of life, where my health is vital, money is vital for me, and you know, money's not everything, but I kind of need it though. That's what Larry June said. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that's really what it is. Money's not everything, but I kind of need it though, and I want to be able to give my family, my community, my children, the best life possible. And you need money to be able to do that. So some people will look at money and think, oh, money's the root of all evil, or if you like money, they kind of look at you like in a wrong way. Some people, and I think that that's the wrong aspect to
It's
look at
wrong.
it.
It said the love of money.
Yeah, exactly. The love of money, and that's one thing that people always do is they misconstrue words. They always leave out like certain parts that make it seem like the whole sentence means a total different thing.
Yeah, that's news 101.
Yeah, so yeah, the love of money, guys. The love of money. Money's not the root of all evil. The love of money. If you love money over the things that actually matter in life, like your family,
Or your God,
your health, your God primarily. God should always be first. And I'm not out here to preach to you and tell you, oh, you should turn into a Christian or a Catholic, or do what you do. I don't care. That's got nothing to do with me. I talk about this in my book where the chapter is called God. And basically what I say is I don't care who or what you believe in, as long as you believe in a higher power much greater than yourself and anybody else in this planet or this universe. Because I was listening to Wesley Huff. Wesley Huff is he's a Christian, but he's also a historian. So he has a beautiful way of being able to break down all of the things that have to do with Christianity. And he came up in a household where he grew up in Jordan, like I don't remember the other places. I don't want to say he grew up in a place he didn't, but I know Jordan for sure. And anyways, the home where he grew up in, um, it had the Quran, it had the Bible, and it had all these different scriptures. And him growing up as a boy, it was kind of liberal for him to be able to look at all these different, scriptures freely. Because, if you grow up, like, say, in a Islamic household or a Christian household, it's almost like looked down upon for you to look at anything else that doesn't have to do with your religion. His family took the whole different approach where he said, we are Christians, but at the same time, you can look at all this other stuff. And so Wesley Huff went and explored the Quran. He explored, Hinduism, all these different cultures and religions. And he always came back to Christianity. And he has just a beautiful way of being able to break down why Christianity he believes is the correct way to go. So I gravitate more towards that. But anyways, I think my point is that him being able to explore all these different scriptures, he was able to make up his own mind for himself on what he believed to be true based on his own studies and his own findings. Most people don't actually do that. So you need to be able to go out of your own way to actually analyze all these different things for yourself and figure out what works for you. So I don't care what you believe in. I don't care what your religion is. I just care that you believe in the higher power, because I think that being atheistical is not doing anything for you. I would actually argue that it works against you, believing that after this life there's nothing else. And they were talking about the Big Bang Theory. And so just the Big Bang Theory, even if that's what you believe in, is just the Big Bang Theory, that something came from nothing, that there was one point in time, and that from there everything else just expanded. Even just that, there's an argument that that's a miracle. How can something come from nothing? That in itself is a miracle. So I would push for you guys to go out and seek some answers for yourself. If you think that science explains it all, it actually doesn't. There's a lot of stuff that science doesn't explain. And the Big Bang Theory, as the name states, is just a theory. It's not a fact. It's just a theory. So if you're going to base all of your potentiality and the way you view life on a theory, I think you're going about life a little bit with blinders on, I would say. So go out of your way, explore everything, figure out what works for you, what doesn't. And at the end of the day, after you actually try, and I mean actually try to do this research and figure things out for yourself, if you come back to the thought pattern that this is just, there's nothing after this, then hey, more power to you. But unless you go out of your way to actually discover these things, I don't think that you should just settle for an opinion that you picked up off of somebody else and then you just adopted it for yourself. That's my perception on that.
Yeah. You know what I also think is slept on?
Huh?
Is the fact that I think God made things of which in a way where man wasn't supposed to understand everything.
I don't think man was supposed to understand
And
everything either.
you know, we have all these scientists and all these people who just want to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
They can't help it. They
Right.
just want to figure it out. And I don't blame them, you know, figure it out. But at the end of the day, when you get into that quantum physics and stuff like that, they say the smaller you go and the deeper you look, the less it makes sense.
Ain't that the truth, man?
So, you know, I feel like to a certain extent, there's some things that we're not meant to find out.
And
because if we did, it would. I don't know. I don't know if everything would work the way it's supposed to.
No,
If we knew everything,
I don't think so. I don't think it would work the way that it's supposed to. I think you're absolutely right. There is things that we're probably not meant to find out and we're not going to find out, at least not within our lifetime. And even I believe no matter what lifetime you live in, 100 years from now, when life is completely different than it is today, there will still be many, many questions. And 100 years from that lifetime, there will still be many, many questions. I think that's the beautiful thing about life, is that no matter how deep you dig, the more you go into it and find things out, the more you realize that there's so much you don't know. It's like you find one thing out, and when you find that one thing out, it makes you realize that you don't know 100 other things. And I think that's the beautiful thing about life. So, me, I'm always curious. I always want to find things out, and I get this happy feeling when I find out things that I didn't know before, because it means that I'm growing. It means that my brain is going to other places that it hasn't been. And, when I first started going down that rabbit hole, I feel like there was a little bit of ego to it, where it was like, oh, look what I know. You know what I'm saying? And then slowly that ego starts to diminish when you start to realize that you need to humble yourself, because you need to meet people where they're at. And there's a lot of people, bro, who are highly intellectual and refuse to share the information they know.
Yeah.
They refuse to share the information they know. And I think that comes from that ego that I was talking about, that some people get caught in, where it's like, look what I know, and they refuse to share that information.
I think a lot of that stems from fear, because at the end of the day, depending on the information, really the only reason that somebody should be withholding is if they're scared of the other person's potential.
Yeah.
Or scared of what the other person will do with the knowledge.
Yeah.
So I would understand if it's how to make an atomic bomb. Okay. All right. Let's conceal that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let's not let everybody know how to make that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, basic knowledge and wisdom and stuff that can help people in life, I don't see any reason to withhold any of that, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. A lot of these medias and outlets, want to make you feel separate, alone. They want you to worry, they want you to fear, so that you think they need your product, or you need their product, or however that may go.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you don't need that shit.
No, and that's one thing that, especially like in the beauty industry, where they make these women feel like they're not beautiful unless they buy this product. That is wild to me. Yeah. Like, unless you're buying this product, you're not beautiful. Unless you're wearing this brand, you're not beautiful. And psychologically, women start to believe that. It's crazy to me, because I see some women do look very beautiful when they have these products on, and it makes them look a lot better. There's no denying that. But then there's also the category of women who I'm like, you look better without makeup, in my opinion.
1,000%. And 9 times out of 10, that's the case.
Yeah.
I think there's levels to being a consumer, because there's a producer, then there's a consumer.
95% of people are consumers. Yeah.
I think there's a worse level than a consumer, though.
What is it?
Being a slave to that brand, to that thing. Say the brand is something designer,
right?
We talked about women, so let's talk about men.
Yep.
There's a lot of people who are slaves to brands,
Mm-hmm.
Just because this brand is on this shirt for $400, I'm gonna buy this.
Yep.
Even though I can't afford it, but just to look like I have this brand on and I can't afford it, I'm gonna buy it, and I'm gonna go broke buying it, so that people think and see that
I got this brand.
I got a V on my back.
Yep.
Or I got Double G, or I got Versace, or I got
whatever it is, whatever the hot topic is. Yeah.
And it's completely backwards, because the real riches is, within, and peace, happiness, serenity, and family, and God, and tranquility, and you know what I mean?
That's the real riches.
That's the real riches.
100%. That's the real riches.
I'd rather have those things than have money or have anything I want in the world, anything materialistic. That's why you see some of those rich people, end up getting too sad or committing suicide and things like that. They have the world, but they don't have themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. They have the world, but they don't have themselves. I think you hit the point very much with that you just said. For me, everything that you said is 100% factual. That does not mean that I don't like nice stuff. I love nice stuff. I love the finer things in life, I love having nice shoes. I love having nice clothes. I love looking aesthetically good. I love looking at myself in the mirror and thinking, man, you look good. I love the nice cars. I love all these things. But I also am not who I used to be as an adolescent, where I used to be part of that, where it was like, if I have this Gucci belt, or if I have this Versace belt, or if I used to wake up in the morning and hit the mall and buy a new outfit every morning. That was my thing. I would wake up in the morning, the mall would open at night at 10 a.m. I'd be at the mall at 10 a.m. I'd go buy a shirt, some jeans, and some shoes, and that every single day. That was what I would do. And I would post it on Snapchat. That's when Snapchat was popping for me. I would post it on Snapchat and be like, yeah, look at me. So we got the Ralph. Should I buy this Ralph Lauren or should I buy this Ralph Lauren? I'm doing the whole 9 yards, man. I'm feeling myself.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, I was full of ego, bro. I was so full of ego. It was crazy, And then I started to realize, but it also came from like, I was taking all my friends out to eat every day. I would not cook at home. That was non-existent for me because I was living with my cousin. And so me and my cousin's routine be like, hey, what you want to have for breakfast? Oh, let's go to the Harris Casino and eat at the buffet or whatever. Okay, let's go to Toucan Charlie's. Okay, let's go to a Mexican spot. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'm paying for everything. We're going to, Ichiban's. We're going everything, and for me that was the shit, and I wouldn't have traded any of those times, but a lot of that stemmed from ego because I wanted people to be like, look at Vic, he's getting it, look, man, he's eating every day, look, he's wearing new clothes every day, he's doing this, that, and the third. And it was when you come to realize what the real beauty of life is, you start to realize that those things are just additives. And when you start to make those things your prerogative, or this is what you live for, your life starts to become a mess. It starts to become a tornado or a whirlwind, because you might have this, but everything else in your life, is living in turmoil. And so I had to step back and realize that I needed to get financially literate. I didn't know what the fuck financial literacy was, I was living under that 2 Chainz song where it was like, it's mine, I spend it. It's mine, I spend it. I'd get the money, and as soon as I get the money, it's going right up. As soon as I get the money, it's going right out. As soon as I get the money, it's going right out. And when I started to discover what cryptocurrencies were, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, those were the main things that I learned when I got introduced to crypto. I started to go down this rabbit hole of like, what is financial literacy? What does it mean to? I thought I was balling, but in reality, I was rich. I in reality I was broke because it doesn't matter if you make, even, let's say if you're making $250,000 a year, but you're spending $250,000 a year, your net is zero. You might have all these other things, and that's why you look like you got it. But at the end of the day, if there's a man who's making, $60,000 a year and he's spending, let's say 45, and he has 15 for investment, he's 15 bands up from you. He's doing more than you. And people can't understand that concept.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn and understand, like, okay, what do I actually want out of life? Well, like I said, I love the finer things in life. I want to be able to drive the SVJ Lamborghini. I want to be able to drive, the Urus Lamborghini. Hello. Yeah, we're doing a podcast.
Yeah,
that was Zay's mom.
I'm gonna pause you right there, bro, because when you can sit back and hear somebody say something like that, something needs to be pulling from that.
Yeah.
When you really start to want to grow and want to learn and want to change and want to be different and start knocking on the door of higher planes of consciousness and awareness and things like that, it's such a beautiful thing to be able to come back. How many years ago was that mall thing?
That was 2018.
So 7 years, 6 years?
6 years, yeah.
Something like that. That was 7 years later. Yep. To come back and observe yourself from a whole different lens of awareness and consciousness. Because a lot of people say in a lot of books, as the light comes in, it pushes the darkness out. There becomes no room. When you become pure consciousness, pure awareness, there's no room for darkness.
Right.
Because if you're conscious, if you're aware, you would not do any darkness, And that's kind of the same with the ego. And not necessarily that you have to push the ego all the way out, but when you get to higher planes of awareness and consciousness, you become more aware of the ego. And for him to be able to sit here 7 years later in a whole different mind frame and to say that, dang, I was full of ego, that's a really beautiful thing. And that's something not many people ever experience in their life because they never become aware of the ego or aware of their worldly desires.
Thank you, man. Yeah. It definitely is not easy because when you're living in that state of mind, you're convinced you're right. You're totally convinced you're right until you have a total different outlook on life from wherever that may have came from. For me, it was, being a self-learner and just being introduced to new things and then having my mind expanded to the point where it's like, man, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And it really gives you a whole different outlook and avenue to in which way that you perceive life, because I never want to be a slave to my ego ever again. And I think that becoming as enlightened as I did when I did, and being able to just, you're always going to have your ego. I think your ego is partially necessary because it's part of the reason that you're alive. It lets you know, like, you should have your ego to the point where it's like, I do want to be better than that guy. Like, say you're on a football team and you just want to be better than the next man. You should want to be better than the next man, but you should not feel that you're somehow greater than that person, if that makes sense. You should want to be better than him. It should drive you. It should push you to be better. But just because you want to be better should not make you think that you're greater. Because when it comes to
worth more,
yeah. When it comes to the essence of being human, no matter what, we're all valuable from just being human. And I think when you can learn to understand that, you'll start to diminish your ego, and it'll start to get smaller and smaller. You'll never be able to get rid of your ego 100%.
Yeah,
It'll be impossible.
2 things on the ego. I heard a great definition of the ego is whenever you feel above or below somebody, whenever you feel superior or inferior.
That's crazy because most people would think it just, it's just superior.
No, it's actually if you feel lower than somebody else also, that can also be, because there's 2 sides of everything always,
Right.
positive and negative, and there's also positive and negative ego. Like, you want to have that healthy image of, oh yeah, I want to be better,
Yeah.
but I know I'm not better than everybody else.
Right.
I don't think I'm more valuable or worth more than the next person, no matter what their situation is.
Right.
Because we're all supposed to be one. We're supposed to be equal. We're supposed to be even. So anytime you feel above or below, you can check that as your ego and kind of check in with yourself mentally and say, hey, what's going on here? You know what I mean? You got to almost be like a bouncer outside the club when it comes to your mind. You gotta,
yeah.
You got your ID, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You on the list? You can't let them in if they ain't on the list. You know what I mean? If it ain't matching with what you want, don't let it in. Don't let it in. But another thing I got from Wayne Dyer was EGO is edging God out.
Yeah, that's what came to mind when you said that. I remember you saying that.
Yeah, that's the ego, edging God out. So, God is connection, God is love, God is abundance, God is trust, those powerful words that really hold a good relationship together, a good connection together. And so basically what that definition is saying is anything that's of the ego edges God's emotions and feelings and word out. So basically, if you're living from the ego, you're not living from God's word.
I love that. Yeah, for me, what I'll say to that is your ego, how you want to go about it, what's helped me is being able to identify when my ego is trying to speak for me. And when it's going to take practice, it's took me, I've been working on this since 2019. So, and I still work at it every day. Like I had an argument with my sister the other day, and she said some stuff, I said some stuff. I said some I shouldn't have said. She said some stuff she shouldn't have said. I went to my room, and then the next day it's like I had a clear mind. So I texted her, I said, I'm sorry for what I said to you yesterday. I shouldn't have said what I said to you. And I just want to start my day on a positive note and let you know that I apologize for what I said. I didn't mean it in this way. And then I explained to her how I meant it. And so then she came back and, she pretty much said some like, kind of hurt me a little bit. She was like, I accept your apology, but pretty much made herself seem like I was in the wrong and she had nothing to do with it. And she pretty much just said, I realized that I need to keep you outside of my life, et cetera, right? I need to keep you outside of my life,
Hey, that's not funny, but
yeah, no, it is funny where I can laugh at it. But she said, I need to keep you outside of my life. Like
your sister?
Yeah, my sister said that to me, bro. And I responded.
I realized what the problem is. I need to keep you at a distance.
Yeah, she said, I need to keep you outside of my life. I need to prioritize my peace and my well-being, et cetera, et cetera. And my ego is like, want to tell her all the reasons she's wrong for this. And so I'm sitting there analyzing my ego, and I realize that my ego wants to speak for me. So I'm like, nah, sit down. And I just was like, my ego wants to tell you all the reasons you're wrong for that, but my spirit understands it's not my job to correct you. If that's how you feel, I can't change your mind. You're my sister, and I love you, and I will always love you. And when you grow to understand, I will be here. And then, I don't know, she said something else, and I didn't even end up replying to that. But I feel like she operates off the ego and doesn't even realize it, you know?
Sometimes sometimes people say things because they know it's gonna hit. You know what I mean? Especially siblings and partners and parents and grandparents.
Yeah.
People who really know you. If they're still feeling some type of way and they're trying to cut you, they're gonna cut you because they know you. They know what's gonna cut you.
That's the fucked up part, though. You know,
they know what to say that's actually gonna move you.
But you know
it's messed up when people feel moved. They want to move other people.
Yeah, that's so true. When people feel moved, they want to move other people.
It's just like hurt people.
That's exactly, and it was funny because I had another person say something. I was listening to some in the morning where it was talking about sometimes saying less is saying more.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so that really stuck with me. And then that morning I went to church and I had a conversation with somebody, and then they said some out-of-pocket shit. Just out-of-pocket shit to me, you know?
At church?
Not at church, after church.
Oh.
You know? They said some out-of-pocket shit to me. Not like they cursed at me or anything, but just some shit that was like, just some shit where you're like, why would you say that? You know what I'm saying? And when they said that, I just said nothing because that stuck with me, where it was like saying nothing and saying more.
Yeah.
It was so hard to keep my mouth shut, but I just kept my mouth shut, and it was like,
keep going.
No, you're good. I just kept my mouth shut, and by keeping my mouth shut, I just observed the other person's behavior, and all of a sudden the other person understood. Like, they wanted me to respond or something, but me not responding, their behavior, I'm a good analyzer, man. I didn't say nothing, and their behavior was like, hey, so what you want to get to eat? Or like, just trying to like find ways of like, yo, like, I fucked up, but I'm not going to tell you I fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I was about to say. I've come to that point to where I love that silence, because people will try to rope you into conversations, whether it's an argument or whether they're just trying to get a reaction out of you, or whether, they may have judged you and they don't really know you. So they think they're going to say this to get a reaction out of you, or they think they're going to say this to get you to move a certain way. Or,
right.
Sometimes it's certain people of a certain race or certain nationality. They think they have to be a certain way to fit in with you, or to speak with you. They think they have to talk about things of your nature when they don't even know you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's so funny to see, because that's exactly what I do. If somebody says something stupid to me that I don't want to entertain, or I don't want to go that way, I just say nothing. And like you said, it makes them realize. But I feel like a lot of the times, if I said something to you to get a reaction out of you, or purposely,
right,
and you just sat there and did not say nothing, now I'm questioning, should I have even said that?
Yeah.
And that's my favorite part. That's my favorite thing to do, is have somebody think to themselves. I want you to repeat that in your head over and over and wonder why I did not say anything.
Yeah.
And I hope you come to the realization that you were not supposed to say that.
And another thing that's helped me is being very blunt and very just like, if I'm feeling some type of way, I'm going to tell you I'm feeling some type of way, because you're not going to have any excuse to tell me that you didn't know that I felt that way. Because people will make excuses, even though they know, they will make excuses. I'm not